Hey, GutFoxx here. Today I'm going to talk about my thoughts on the MUT salary capped ranked beta. The sponsor today is Betas, killing us both with their bugs and their cringy stories about how bad they are with girls. Alright, before I start, I'm going to say, read the blog linked in the description from EA. The things I say won't make a lot of sense unless you already have a grip on what it's going to be. Please pause this and go read the blog now. Anyways, the salary cap mode is for the MUT middle class, because you need to own these players in your binder. The poor players who don't have as much time won't be able to get into a fair game right away like draft champions. It's clear to me that EA knows how to cater to different markets to bring in the entirety of the football-loving world. Except females, of course, because, it's football. So the poor are catered to in draft champions, the rich in MUT, and now the middle class with this mode. And as to the rich, I said they'll keep playing MUT there. That's true unless they find themselves wanting to get into the competitive Madden scene. As you guys have heard me talk about many times, the salary cap mode is the ultimate form of competitive Madden. No Seahawks versus Seahawks for the entire tournament, no random luck deciding whether you get to pass with John Elway or Mark Sanchez. You're now getting a more leveled playing field, but with almost limitless customization. This is what competitive Madden will be in the future, or at least I pray it will be. I talked about this more last year in my Can Madden Become a Competitive Esport video, which I'll also link in the description. And as I mentioned in that video about EA's competitive sports division, I can totally see another big live event taking place this summer with this new mode. I would lube yourselves up and get ready to grind if you want to get in the big tourney. But a couple things mentioned in the blog. First, that players will be given a salary cap number based on stats, not overall. As Texas Boy has mentioned plenty of times, and now EA has confirmed overalls don't matter. Look at the underlying stats. I hope EA redoes their algorithm for overalls in 17 to match overalls what they think actually matters in how players play on the field. But this will be hella interesting to see what EA starts to rank more heavily. I'm guessing they're going to back off on awareness for positions like running back and quarterback, but the more they weight awareness or other meaningless stats, the better opportunity we have to find budget ballers for the mode. Stay tuned to the channel for more on finding these players and what EA is signaling for what matters more at different positions. The thing that stood out to me here was the season structures they're going to have. It's terrible. For something like draft champions where you want badges and rewards, it works fine. I don't see it as the goal here. I want to see a little variety in my game modes too. Not being able to change around the roster between games to fit a shifting meta is a bad idea from a game development standpoint. The great part about this mode is your ability to tinker with the rosters to find the right balance. You aren't allowed in draft champions to do that for obvious reasons, since you play out your draft. My solution is to implement a different ladder than they have currently. I know I talk a lot about Hearthstone on this channel, but they get a lot of things right. Since this looks like the competitive mode for Madden, have the ladder countdowns from rank 50 to 1, with guys moving up and down based on wins and losses, and then the legend ranks after getting above 1, where you have an ELO style ranking of guys. That would come into play. EA could then transparently take the top 64 in the legend rank at the end of the season for their tournament. This solves my gripe because games will be played transparently against players near your rank, and you can sub out guys between games. The rewards can be given out either per win or per milestone or both, like 3,000 passing yards in a season gets you a pro pack and so on. There's many more ways to reward players. And I understand the need to charge for the mode to balance out the economy so that way you aren't just giving rewards out for free. I'm not going to offer any alternative solutions here, like using the MUT contracts on players, because I think that's a bad idea. I think they should make it free because you're looking for a low barrier to entry to find the best players in Madden. We already have to buy the players and put them in our binders. That should be enough of an investment for people. So moving forward, what does this mean for MUT? Well, until we see the full inventory of players and what their salary cap numbers are going to be, it's hard to tell. Will this new mode cause a rise in the price of golds and elites? I don't know. The budget ballers we have now won't go up in price like we think, because EA said Zadarius Smith will now be priced according to his stats and not his overall. But is the market flooded enough with high golds and base elite players that they won't take a huge bump with a new game mode? Only time will tell. I'm guessing this new demand for these players will cause a slight bump, but it'll be spread amongst so many different players that it's going to be tough to make large profits on these investments. The best way to turn a buck is to find a mistake by EA in rating a player and buying a ton of that player before other people realize it. But I assume with the new players releasing through the summer that the cap numbers will adjust themselves relatively often. I don't know. If they don't readjust themselves, we'll run into long-term issues with the program, as newer players generally have better stats like speed. Since speed is OP, the newer cards will just be flat out better than the older ones. It isn't much of an issue with Madden 16, as there are only 4 months left of it or so, but moving into 17, I could see it being a bigger issue. They can handle it one of 3 ways. The first 2 are to either reduce the old cards' cost as the season goes along, or raise the cap occasionally to fit in the new ones. Of those 2, I like raising the cap monthly as the season progresses the best. The third option is to not adjust the cap at all through the season and let players figure out themselves how to adjust with the new cards. At this point, I assume EA will go forward this way, but it's just speculation. The biggest key to making coins off this new mode will be identifying if EA screwed up and isn't weighting a key category enough, or is weighting it too much, like block shed for cornerbacks, or on the other side, awareness for defensive players. I'll be particularly interested in how they rank strength compared to base MUT. We'll see how the BCA players turn out with that one. And another point to be made is that it looks like the positional worth has been taken into account, so QBs cost more than left ends and so on. But 1,000 points, which is how many your cap total, divided by 34 spots means each player needs to average 29.4 points. High overall cards can easily double or triple that. For example, Golden Ticket Johnny Manziel was said that he will be going for triple that price. The roster breakdown, 34 spots, we get a quarterback, only 1 halfback. I know they turned down fatigue and injuries, but my God, you are almost forced into a backup here if you plan on running the ball even 50% of the time. And that's a big bugaboo for me. They're essentially forcing us into its use like Call of Duty Modern Warfare forced us into using Juggernaut or stopping power perks to be competitive. They give us 1 fullback, so forget what I said, stash your HB2 here. You know, unless you're running the I form or strong close or halfback dives and tosses on the goal line. What am I talking about? Of course you do. Time to freak out again by the lack of depth at halfback. You get 4 wide receivers, 2 tight ends would make sense, but why are there more tight ends than halfbacks? I think a lot of players use halfbacks more than tight ends. It's seriously a pain in the ass there, and something I'm going to keep complaining about because I'm a bitch. You get 1 O-lineman. I'm fine with that decision. You get 1 O-lineman in each position, I mean. I think Stanima might be underrated for this position because of that. We'll have to see how the gameplay plays, of course. You get 1 left end, 2 right ends, 3 defensive ends. Defense looks great. You know, 1 kicker and punter, too. I like the positional breakdowns. 2 flex players you can use as you wish. So you get 16 players on defense and 14 on offense, 1 kicker, 1 punter. Interesting that they provide more depth on defense. I don't have a problem with it. You know, the only thing I want is that HB2. The biggest concern I have with this mode, as with any Madden gameplay, is the cheese. If you can custom pick your run blocking tight ends and tackles, then I assume someone can cheese more effectively than draft champions with that fullback dive, halfback toss type of junk. But that'll be the meta. If everyone starts quick tossing and cheesing, people will bring better run stuffers. And if everybody brings better run stuffers, you should bring speedy wide receivers to beat them deep. But the lack of customization of the roster, again, is something that I have an issue with between games. But we'll talk more through the strategy of this new mode at a later date, because this video is getting a little lengthy and we'll really need to dive into the weeds there for coins and whatnot. We'll talk about player prices and how to construct and spend your roster. This is like draft champions on steroids. Nice work, EA. I love the new mode. Thanks for watching. Call to action. I'll see you tomorrow.